Hello Twin Flame friends, welcome to my channel. This is Charlotte with Happy Twins 1111. So before I begin today, I just want to say a huge big thanks and so much love and gratitude to Lynn, who sent me these beautiful cards. This is the Moonology Oracle card deck. Absolutely love them. I only added them to my wish list a few days ago. And Lynn says, "Hi Charlotte, I hope you enjoy using these cards. Thank you for all your help, support and guidance that you give to so many. You are such a beautiful soul, with love and light," from Lynn. Thank you so much, darling. I'm always so touched when I receive cards. It really is my most favourite thing. So thank you. We're going to use those in today's reading. Now, today's reading, it's a pick apart as normal, but we're going to talk about triggers. What triggers, actually bear with me because my earphones are tangled. What triggers aren't you sensing, seeing? You know, how are you both being triggered? We're going to look at the twin as well, so your divine counterpart. Because through the kind of one-on-one, face-to-face sessions I do with my clients, this really is one of the most common blockages for all twins, is that you're not responding to your triggers. So when you're feeling pain, you are being triggered. When you're suffering, you are being triggered. And what tends to happen is that you resent and resist the pain. You do anything you can to distract yourself from it, and you resent it. You don't want to be in pain. You just want it to go away. And I hear things like, you know, "I'm so tired of this journey. It's so hard. I'm so sick of this. I wish it wasn't my twin. I wish this wasn't happened to me." You're resisting the triggers. Triggers are what create pain. So when you meet your twin and they run and you feel this painful sense of rejection, abandonment and longing to be back with them, that's a trigger. That's the first trigger we all experience. It triggers that deep core wound of fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of, you know, just loss, and the depths of your lack of self-worth. So that's the first trigger we experience. And for many, many of us, we get stuck in that first cycle because we don't know how to respond to the triggers. So when the triggers come up, what you need to be doing is sitting with it. When you feel pain and suffering, rather than resenting it, rather than trying to distract yourself from it, you need to go within. You need to give yourself time and space to meditate, or at least think it through very clearly, and ask yourself, what are these triggers trying to teach me? Where does this pain come from, and how can I transmute it? You transmute it by learning the lesson within the trigger. So if you're being triggered because your twins run and you're feeling rejection, abandonment and pain, he's showing you a core wound that already existed within you. And you need to respond to that trigger by addressing that core wound. So that's going back to childhood and saying, when did I first feel this? Where does this come from? That understanding is what sets you free. So really our twins are teachers, because they trigger us. They trigger a pain within us that needs to be healed and transmuted. And our job is to acknowledge that trigger, to allow it, to roll with it instead of resisting it. You have to allow the pain. Now, the better you get at following this process, the easier healing becomes. You actually become, what's the word? You find yourself in a place where you invite and welcome the triggers because you find the joy in it. You begin to see the journey and its triggers as gifts, because they are gifts that are going to help you towards enlightenment. They're gifts that are going to help you find that lost love that's always been within you. There are gifts that are going to help you dig out all of that pain and that horrible programming that you've been carrying around for your whole life. So the runner-chaser dynamic is actually the most beautiful gift contained within this journey. It's not union, it's the runner-chaser dynamic, because those triggers are what drive you to inner joy, peace, happiness and self-love. And that's the real gift of this journey. And that's what each twin gives to one another by triggering them, by showing you what you need to heal to find that joy and love within you. So you need to embrace the triggers. You need to stop resisting them, stop presenting them, and you need to work through them. Now, the key is meditation. I know I wax lyrical about it. I am a meditation teacher, but I share this with you because this is how I healed. I discovered meditation first before all the other healing modalities, and it brought me such tremendous peace. It changed my life within a few short weeks. Because what meditation allows you to do is to relax to such a calm and peaceful place that you connect with your higher self. And all of the answers reside within. You could go and see a therapist and sit with them every hour for 2 years. And what they're doing is using your conscious mind to try and find the root cause of your pain. But when you go into meditation, when you achieve theta state, you can go straight to your subconscious mind and say, why am I in pain? And it will tell you. It will show you. And if you ask it, how do I heal from this pain? It will tell you and it will show you. So this is why meditation is such an important daily practice, not just for twins, but for every human being, because it teaches us how to cope with our own pain and how to transmute it. This is why it's such an important part of this journey. Now, I am going to be making some videos very soon about healing, about meditation, about all of these different modalities, but we are focused on a reading today. So we're going to look at what's triggering you, what's triggering your divine counterpart, and what do you need to do to move forward? You know, what aren't you seeing? What do you need to learn and understand about those triggers? But remember, the real answers, the answers that are going to help you move forward the most are within. So if you haven't started meditating, do it today. If you don't know how, drop me an email. I will send you a guided meditation recording that will give you the bare bones and basics of how to begin. Don't tell yourself you can't do it. Don't tell yourself you're not built for meditation. Every human being on this planet has this ability. It's not magical. It's not, you know, mad science. It's just a beautiful, simple method of self-healing and self-love. So stick with it. Don't give up. Make it a daily discipline. If you want to move through this painful stage, trust me when I tell you that this is what will bring you peace. It's meditation. Now, I've not done a card thumbnail for today's reading. So if you would like to know what decks and crystals I'm using, that information is in the description box below, but I'm guessing you can see them quite well. I'm just going to pull them forward a moment so you can have a look at each one. The timestamps are also in the description box below. So once you've chosen your pile, you can skip immediately to the pile you've chosen. So now we've had a good look at those, I'm going to start with pile 1. So, what triggers do you need to be aware of that you're not responding to? I don't read reversals with this deck. So, if they come out upside down, I will turn them the right way up. Okay, so we're going to do the Divine Feminine first and then Divine Masculine. In fact, I didn't plan on doing this, but I'm going to use 2 decks. We'll use the same deck for each part of the Divine Masculine because I'm interested to see if you mirror each other in your triggers. So if the same card comes up for each of you, then we know there's something going on for the 2 of you that you know you're both facing in tandem. So, we'll keep that one since it fell out. Right, so what triggers is the Divine Feminine experiencing? Wow. Wow, all major arcana so far. Okay, so Divine Feminine, if you've chosen this pile, you're being called to acknowledge your spirituality and your gifts because there is clearly some shame surrounding this. You're afraid of how this is going to change the perception those around you have of you. There's a feeling of shame, embarrassment, and almost disbelief. I feel like you're the sort of person that has probably believed in spirituality, psychic gifts and so forth all your life, but that you didn't believe this is something that could happen to you. And of course, it's very easy to be private in our belief system when we're looking at what others are doing. But when we begin to take action ourselves and integrate new belief systems into our day-to-day activities, all of a sudden that attracts attention from other people. And, you know, the twin flame concept is a wild one. You know, I appreciate that a lot of people just think we're all lunatics. So that's a hard pill to swallow, to accept that, you know, this is happening to you in the first place. But everything that comes with it, the spiritual stuff, you know, we've got the Queen of Wands here and the High Priestess. There's shame for you there that you need to transmute, because they're beautiful gifts and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of you. So actually both of these triggers actually pertain to how you feel about yourself and how you need approval from outside of self. And of course the answer is that you don't need anyone's approval. It only matters that you're happy with who you are. So, you know, again, this indicates lack of self-worth, lack of self-confidence, lack of belief in self, and you care too much about what other people think of you. You don't need to care one jot what people think of you. It only matters what you think of you. And I feel like you do have a very strong sense of self. You like who you are. You know you're a good, decent, caring and loving person with a big, pure heart. That's enough. You are enough. So you don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to fit in with anybody else's values or moral compass. I'm picking up on a religious leaning here as well. So for some of you, it could be the case that you're part of a religious group that would very much frown upon this kind of activity or belief system. And I'm really guided to say that any body or organisation professing to be spiritual that judges others so harshly, it's you that needs to question their integrity, not the other way round. And the truth resides inside of you. It's just about unleashing it and learning to live authentically, learning to be happy and comfortable with your authentic true self, this beautiful spiritual light being that you are, with beautiful gifts. Now, moving on to the Chariot, you know, this is about developing a goal-oriented mentality, because you're being called to look forward and take action to create the future you want, but you stagnate, you let it go. You're the sort of person that will complain furiously about what you don't have and how your life doesn't look, but you forget that you manifest your reality, you create your reality. So you need to stop spending so much time focused on what you don't have and start thinking about and giving time and space to daydreaming about how you want your life to look and telling yourself, I can have this. So this trigger underpins this issue with, you know, it's almost a victim mentality of life is not fair to me, life isn't good to me, I'm not a lucky person, I will never have what I want. Those are the self-created thought forms attached to this card. I'm not even going to bother trying because nothing good happens to me. I'm not worthy or deserving of a good life. That happens to other people, not to people like me. And, you know, first of all, that's obviously not true. We each create our own life. Yes, we may be living out karma, but everybody has a cross to bear. Don't for 1 second think that the people that have the things you need and want aren't suffering themselves. We all suffer. Suffering is beautiful. Suffering teaches us about joy. You know, your ability to suffer is in direct proportion to your ability to experience joy. So release the idea that you're being punished, that you're not worthy and deserving, that good things don't happen to you, and start taking responsibility and accountability for how your life is, because you have a choice every day. You wake up every morning to start over, and you only have to change your mind and your whole life will change. So start planning. Read The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Read that book, or catch the documentary on Netflix. You need to start manifesting what you want and trusting that you can have it. And dig down and find out where this trigger of you don't deserve what you want comes from. Where does that pain originate? What do you need to release? We've also got the 9 of discs and the 6 of discs. So the 9 of discs is about self-empowerment, about learning to stand on your own 2 feet, about learning to be independent rather than codependent, and appreciating the gifts you have, appreciating how far you've come, giving yourself credit for this journey so far, because you really have come far and you're going to go further. But you need to trust self. You know, there's a strong codependent energy here in your, you know, your need to have support to be able to achieve. And it's so liberating to step into your own power and say, all I need to achieve is me. I have everything I need inside. So you're really being called to step into that power. When you're feeling, I can't do that, I wish someone would help me. You know, I can't do this, I need help from so-and-so. And this is, I want to make this okay for you, because this is a trigger that I think everybody on this journey experiences. It's the first one. If we assume that all twins begin this journey with self-love deficit, that codependent energy of needing to reach out for support rather than going within is in us all. It's not just in twins, it's in probably 99.9% of human beings. We want someone else to do it for us because it makes us feel cared for, valued, supported. And we don't trust ourselves to do a good job. We don't trust ourselves. So, you know, what is it that you've been wanting to do, that you've been telling yourself, I don't know how to do that, I'd need some help with that? You have a choice every day to wake up and teach yourself, to go and find the information, knowledge and skills that are required to achieve your dreams. You don't need anybody else to show you. That's within. And, you know, I'm talking about practical matters because this is the 9 of discs. This is about your earthly affairs. So, you know, you might be in a relationship that you're frightened to leave because you're dependent financially on that person and you don't trust your ability to self-support. But this goes back to this card about creating and manifesting everything you need and want. You have to trust self that you can do that. The 6 of discs is all about reciprocation and equal give and take. So it's quite likely that you've not had equal give and take in your previous relationships, and certainly not with your twin. You know, and that's something that you have to learn about, because, and it's one of the actual contradictory bits of information, or appears to be contradictory when we read about the twin flame journey. We're asked to love unconditionally, without conditions, without limitations, without expectations. And that sounds like a contradiction to boundaries and demanding equal give and take, or demanding reciprocation. So I just want to clarify this, because you can still love someone even if they don't give you what you need. However, to allow that person to continue taking from you, to continue draining you and giving nothing back in return, that isn't unconditional love for self. And the love you have for yourself has to be a priority. It has to come first. So in these circumstances, when you're in a dynamic where there is no reciprocation or no equal reciprocation, you're not getting back what you put in from that person, there isn't a balance, then you need to ask yourself, is that unconditional love for self? And that's where boundaries come in. You can say to a person, I love you very much, but the way this relationship operates currently doesn't meet my ideas about what love looks like. It's not equal. There is no equal give and take. So I'm going to love myself first and share that boundary with you. These are what my, this is where my boundary and my values lie. And you either meet me at that boundary or we can't be in a relationship. That's self-love. You can still love that person, but you don't have to be with them. And when you have self-love, you understand you don't need to be with them. You would never tolerate anything that didn't make you feel good about self, that didn't make you feel whole. So when you're feeling bad about what's happening in your dynamic, what we tend to do is just take the crumbs that are offered because we're so desperate to be with them. That's not unconditional self-love. That's the love you're meant to learn first. So, you're being triggered by this lack of reciprocation. Your twin is probably not giving anywhere near as much to this connection as you are. And you need to pull back and stand in your own power when that happens, Divine Feminine. You can assert your boundaries with love and kindness. You don't have to be mean. It communicates to your counterpart what your values are and where they can either evolve and grow and meet them, or they can carry on learning their karma. Because a healthy, balanced person understands reciprocation. Now, looking at the lineup with the DF, there aren't actually a great deal of similarities on first glance. But I'm really drawn to this Strength card here for the Divine Masculine. And the Queen of Wands with her two lions either side. And this lady with the lion in Strength, they do kind of mirror each other. And the Queen of Wands is Strength. She's incredibly strong. She's spiritually, creatively and passionately strong. And I feel like this is where this Divine Masculine is being triggered, because he mistakes strength for aggression. Assertive oneself aggressively is what's really coming up here. He hasn't learned that true strength is compassion for self and others. When you have strength and love within self, you don't need to justify yourself to others or fight with them or argue with them. You assert your strength by standing in your power with love and compassion and refusing to react in a way which demeans your peace of mind. So for this guy, he needs to understand what strength means. And he also feels an overwhelming responsibility to be strong, I feel. That there are core childhood wounds here where he's had to cope, he's had to endure pain, he's had to kind of have a stiff upper lip and get on with it, rather than, confronting and working through his pain. I feel this is a very common trigger for Divine Masculines, because men, especially men, on the American continent, who I feel are quite a lot more, they have a lot more machismo than a lot of European men. And they're taught that, if you cry and get upset and wallow, you're a bit of a pussy. Men don't express themselves in the same way. And it's seen as strong to be able to endure pain and just carry on. And I feel like this is what this trigger pertains to. And the fact that this card is yellow as well, all the triggering happens in the solar plexus, in our power center. And a lot of sacral fire energy here as well. So, you know, this need to be perceived as strong when he doesn't feel it, it feels like an incredible burden. We've also got this need to provide. So if this is your divine masculine, this is how it's being triggered, you know, he's really going to struggle with those self-worth issues related to providing, to success and achievement, because he firmly believes he has to be this strong man. This is a very traditional kind of energy, very traditional masculine energy of, wow, you know, I'm the caveman, I provide, I earn, I put the food on the table, pay all the bills, and I've got to be strong for everybody. So if he's not in that energy of being a good provider, this, you know, he's being triggered hard right now, that this is going to be a major issue in the connection. This is his insecurity, but he needs to heal that. Because, you know, when we strip ourselves bare, when you take all your clothes off and remove your family, remove your home, remove every item that you own, and you just have a naked person, all that we are is skin, flesh, bone, heart and spirit. And that's how we need to be judged and how to judge ourselves. We're beautiful as we are. We're perfect as we are. There is no obligation to be anything other than our beautiful self. You know, and think about that on a grander scale. If we took every human being on this planet and removed items that we owned, if we removed our status, our bank account, our home, our family, and we were all just there bare and naked, skin, flesh, bone and heart and spirit, the perspective is very different. You're judging someone in that condition on what's inside. What they have is irrelevant. Anyone can attain achievement, success, money, and so on. You definitely can. Anybody can. That's not a measure. It's not an effective measure of self-worth. But this is what this guy's doing. This is how he's being triggered. He doesn't feel good enough. He doesn't feel strong enough. And he doesn't know how to express himself. With the King of Swords reversed, you know, he has been called to express his truth and he doesn't know how. He doesn't know how to make sense of it. He doesn't trust self. He doesn't know what the truth is yet. I feel like as well this is a particularly brutal trigger for this divine masculine. This one. He doesn't know what's happening. This feeling of confusion, of feeling out of control, of not understanding. And he would have felt this in childhood. You know, not feeling like a master of his own mind. And I feel like this guy as well understands the need to be positive and the need to look forward, the need to have mental clarity. But he doesn't have that. Really, really beats himself up over it. Why don't I understand the truth? Why don't I understand what to do with my life? Or how to communicate my needs? So there's a lot of triggers for him relating to questions like this. This is like an existential crisis of just not trusting self. This is mirrored again here with this Seven of Swords reversed, not trusting self, not feeling like he has the ability to lay himself bare, fear of being judged, fear of being honest. Because if he's honest, if he reveals his true self, he's going to have to deal with the feedback, with judgment. That's what he fears. And this links as well to this High Priestess card that the Divine Feminine had, fear of being true self. How will I be judged? How will others perceive me if they know the truth about me? And he also doesn't know about his career. So this kind of mirrors this Ten of Pentacles energy here with this Eight of Pentacles reversed. I feel like this guy doesn't know what he needs or wants from his working life. He's not figured that out yet. He's not developed a fulfilling career. And again, he feels this is important and that it's going to be important to a prospective partner. So, you know, he really needs to strip it back bare and just understand that he is love and that's enough. Really powerful. Right, so let's get some Moonology cards. I know this is a very different reading to what I've normally done, but I really hope it's helping. Please do comment down below and let me know. I'm going to use these lovely cards from Lynn. Thank you so much, Lynn. I've wanted these for ages. I see other readers using them. I'm like, I like those. And here they are. I think post Blue Moon, it's very fitting. Okay. So Divine Feminine, we're going to pull two for you, two for the Divine Masculine. Wow. New Moon in Scorpio. We've got new moon, sorry, full moon in Scorpio, but it's not far off. Blue Moon. Believe in the impossible. And full moon in Pisces. So, Divine Feminine. Conclusions are within reach. Full moon eclipse. You already know. You already know what you need to do. You're almost blocking your own intuition through fear. So I've got this work through your fears and this Scorpio energy, which is, Scorpio energy is deep. It's, you know, this is a dark moon. You know, there's a chink of light that you can just grasp and just see, but it's like you're stuck in this dark place. But you do know what you need to do, and you need to trust that it's within reach. And I think it's interesting that we've got, even though this one isn't the eclipse, this is the eclipse moon, but this one, it looks much more like an eclipse with this, you know, this ring of light, like the sun is behind it. So the truth is being eclipsed by your fear. Once you remove fear, you will be able to see clearly. You will be able to access the conclusions that are within reach and that you need to move forward. And you are the High Priestess. So you should know how to do this. Again, it's about meditating. It's about going within. Release the fear. Right. So for our Divine Masculine, believe in the impossible, Blue Moon. And I feel like this mirrors this High Priestess energy and this lack of truth. You know, I think this guy knows that there is a deep soul connection, but he's probably not very spiritually aware or comfortable with spirituality. And he questions it all the time. He questions the synchronicities, he questions the coincidences, he questions everything. And he's being guided with this beautiful blue moon energy to believe in the impossible. Because everything's possible, there's nothing impossible. Balance spirituality and practicality, full moon in Pisces. You know, practicality with these pentacles, these discards for him are a big thing. I feel like in his social group, network and peer group and family, spirituality is, you know, much like we've got with our Divine Feminine, this kind of spirituality isn't generally accepted. He's got a need to balance his own values and beliefs there because the belief isn't yet there, but this is what's blocking it. It's this feeling of being judged. This has come up over his King of Swords and Honesty card as well. Powerful. So I really hope that helped par one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do like, share, subscribe and comment. It's always lovely to hear from you and to get your feedback. Oh, that's the dog. He's going to come in, so I'm just going to go and get him before I start part two. Apologies. He always does this to me when I'm doing a video. All right, bear with me one moment. Okay, sorry about that. Right, part 2. What triggers aren't you acknowledging? What do you need to know about your journey? About how to heal so you can move into a calmer place. I'm going to use this part of the Divine Masculine just so we can see if we've got any similar triggers, if we're mirroring in any way. Yeah, there's definitely some mirroring here. Okay, so Divine Feminine at the top here. One of your core wounds, and this concerns behaviour and communication, is that you grew up in a very volatile household where communication was fractured, it was harsh, it was cutting, it was immature, and your parents probably didn't understand how to communicate with one another effectively and calmly and from a place of love and trust. And so they have programmed you and your family, and this is how you're walking around. You've been taught that it's okay to lash out verbally with very cutting, horrible words. You've been taught that that's what love looks like, that you can love someone and still be verbally cruel, or the behaviour can be obnoxious and cruel. And you've been stuck in this programming for a very long time. And you're mirroring this with your twin. He has learned the same. He has the same programming. You know, if we view communication like a sword, you know, the goal is to be able to hold the sword of truth, to be able to hold that communication calmly and respectfully. To lash out with the sword and to cut is wounding. It creates conflict. It creates more problems. So you see, with the progression of cards in the tarot, we've got the Page of Swords, the Knight of Swords, and the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords upright holds that sword calmly. Yeah? The King of Swords holds it with even more restraint. But if we look at the Page and the Knight, the Page doesn't know how to be his true self. He's defensive. He's less likely to attack furiously unless provoked. And he hides his true self. He's not comfortable communicating it. That's why he's all covered up. Yeah, he's covered in blue, which is the colour of the throat chakra, the colour of communication and truth. And he holds his sword in this defensive manner, waiting to be attacked. So his communication is going to be based on this need to defend oneself. It's almost an expectation before he's even opened his mouth. The Knight of Swords has learned how to use his sword. He's learned that words can manipulate and get him what he wants. He's learned that by hurting people like he's been hurt, he can feel empowered. He can feel stronger than them by being cutting with his words. So you've both got these energies. For the Divine Feminine, You know, you swing between being passive aggressive, waiting to be attacked, and being hyper defensive. So it'd be very difficult for your twin to communicate calmly with you because you're hearing everything through this filter of attack, because that's how you've been taught to communicate. You can't trust someone to tell you what's bothering them about your behaviour, actions or words if you're going to take it all as criticism and an insult. This is what you've been taught. You've not been taught loving communication. And so this is how you're triggering each other very hard. And I feel like the Divine Feminine she's got more awareness. She's more likely to stand back in defensive mode. But when she lets go, she is cutting. But the Divine Masculine is really immature and next level cutting in his approach to communication. So both of you are being triggered in that way. And again, this comes back to childhood wounds. And you will notice that how you were spoken to and taught to communicate has a bearing on how you communicate with self. That voice inside your head that's harsh and cutting and mean to you. You know, you bully yourself as well. It's hard to be self-aware when you're so wounded by words, when you've been taught that communication is usually painful. It's very hard to develop self-awareness and look at self honestly. The other trigger for the Divine Feminine here with the Seven of Wands reversed is about not having barriers or boundaries, not standing up for oneself in a healthy way. You know, you can absolutely lose your shit with someone and express anger, but still continue tolerating the same behaviour. You know, you can try and assert your boundary with this fury, this cutting energy that you're in possession of. But you don't. You don't actually assert the boundary. You just use words to express your fury, your frustration, your rage. But then you don't follow through. You don't actually stand up for yourself. This is a bit like that woman who, you know, I'm just going to say this is any woman as well. A woman who, you know, will stay with a partner who repeatedly cheats on her. And every time he cheats, she will, you know, be so angry with him. She will unleash hell. And she'll say to me, if you cheat on me again, I will do X, Y, Z. But they're empty threats because she doesn't actually really assert her boundaries. She stays. Asserting boundaries isn't rage. Asserting boundaries is saying, no, thank you, no more. You're not allowed to treat me like that, so I'm removing myself from this situation. But this Divine Feminine tries to assert her boundaries with threats that become empty and hollow, because they're never seen through. She commands and demands, but with rage, with anger. Yeah. You need to learn to say no. You can't change other people. You can't make them be better people. You have to learn by their actions who they are, and they won't always tell you honestly. You know, again, going back to this cheating analogy, you've got the man there saying, I won't ever do that again, I'm so sorry and I'm so ashamed. And in that moment you want to believe them. But if something's happened multiple times, you have to ignore the words, because we know that words aren't always trustworthy. Not everyone uses them truthfully. You have to ignore the words and pay attention to the actions. This is a really important lesson for you. Boundaries. No one else is entitled to your time, to a piece of your life. This is your life. You're worthy and deserving of a good life. You decide who's in it. You decide who you give your time to. But when your boundaries are challenged, you respond with anger. You're not able to calmly discuss how to move forward. The Magician energy as a trigger is interesting. I think this is about self-empowerment. This is about acknowledging that you have all the tools and skills you need to move forward, but not embracing it. There's almost a feeling of disempowering self. This is a very interesting card for the Magician as well, because we have the snails crowning her head. We have a lot of eyes in here as well, which for me represent, you know, seeing through the higher self and psychic ability. And we've also got at the centre of this card, I don't know if you can see it, this boat on water with a person in it, in the heart space of this Magician, of being able to navigate one's own emotions. This is what Spirit is trying to show you. You've probably been getting a lot of dreams, visions, messages from Spirit, even being drawn to readings pertaining to your own power, to your own ability. But it's been very slow to manifest itself in your mind because you don't believe in your own empowerment. You're not acknowledging what gifts you have. You need to remember you're a beautiful divine being. You're capable of everything you need to do. Capable of everything you want. But you need to stop seeing with your 3D eyes. This Magician doesn't have eyes, they're blank. The eyes are in her hands and all over. So the eyes are in the solar plexus and the sacral. They're in processing your reality energetically and creatively. And by doing. That's why they're in the hands. You know, you need to be more observant of what's happening. You're seeing everything through this filter of childhood trauma. That is what happens. So the divine masculine, you know, he doesn't feel masculine. We've got the Emperor reversed here. He feels disempowered. And I think it's interesting actually that, you know, this mirrors, whilst you've got the Queen of Swords, the Knight of Swords mirrors here, you've got the Page of Swords, which is a very childish, immature energy, this feeling being trapped in a, you know, in this childhood wound. I feel this is the same for the divine masculine. He feels disempowered. He's trapped in this idea of not being enough, not being grown enough. You know, and he probably doesn't acknowledge that about himself, but he just doesn't feel man enough. And of course, this is followed by the Page of Wands, again, a very immature energy. And we've got Wands here as well, with the Seven of Wands, for the divine feminine trigger. There's lack of boundaries, lack of barriers. And actually, I think this is the polar opposite. Because in this card, we see the Page of Wands grasping his stick, taking control and leaving this lady behind. You see that? She's there. And they're in a field preparing the hay harvest. He's leaving her behind to do the work. Isn't that powerful, given what this journey represents? That's the only control he has. He's not taking responsibility for his spiritual journey. He's not responding to the spiritual dynamics of this interaction. He's taking leave. He's leaving you to do that journey. And actually that is the natural order. The divine feminine holds the torch and lights the path. But he feels shame about this. He feels shame at not being able to resolve or fix the situation himself, which is a very masculine trait. We've also got the Two of Swords, which is conflicted, not trusting self. I feel like this guy probably had a lot of trouble in his childhood with a father and a stepfather, or two male figures. A lot of conflict there. Their behaviour caused him to question his own integrity. They caused him to not trust self. So as a result, he's very indecisive. He looks to other people for guidance, for answers, for advice. He feels unable to move forward independently and just overwhelmed with emotion a lot of the time. Gets caught up in this cycle of indecision. Wow. Okay. So we're going to take 2 Moonology cards for each. That actually came up in the same position for part 1. So luck is on your side for the masculine, and don't let pride get in your way. And for the feminine, conclusions are within and within reach, full moon eclipse, and a new romantic cycle begins. New moon in Libra. Libra is about balance. You know, reaching conclusion brings balance. It brings emotional balance and stability. That allows a new cycle to begin, a more romantic cycle. Luck is on your side, Divine Masculine. New moon in Sagittarius, and don't let pride get in your way, full moon in Leo. I feel with this Emperor reverse, this is the, you know, that's a good representation of the energy. It's male pride. Not feeling male enough, not feeling man enough. And with a new moon, you know, that's an opportunity for growth. If he only just embraces the opportunity. So I feel like both of you need to go within. And I feel like for you two, you need to have a conversation together about these mirror triggers of the cutting communication, because this is a major blockage for you both in this journey. And I feel that by discussing it together, you know, telling him, don't be proud about this, let's be honest, this is about growing as individuals so we can communicate better together, but with, you know, communicate better in life. I feel that conclusion will lead to a new cycle, a more romantic cycle, a more gentle cycle, where you can both put your swords down and communicate from the heart. I really hope that helps. Pile 2, please like, share and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next time. All right, let's go with pile 3. What's triggering you? What triggers aren't you acknowledging? What do you need to know about your healing and the triggers that you're not seeing? So we're going to do Divine Feminine across the top and Divine Masculine below. I'm going to use this deck for the Divine Masculine. So Divine Feminine, you both mirror each other with these 7s here. And your 7 of Crystals or 7 of Pentacles, as it's also known reversed, is about not investing in self. You invest in everyone but yourself. You see the value in others, but you fail to acknowledge or see the value in self. You feel unable to fulfill all of your potential. You weren't taught how to do that. You were taught to care for others and help them fulfill their potential, but you don't give this gift to yourself. You don't balance your own needs with those of other people. There's just a dramatic imbalance here that you give so much to others. But not only do you not demand it in return from them, but you don't give it to yourself. And this relates to work and this belief that someone else needs to provide and take care of you because you don't feel strong enough in your independence to be able to do that for self. And your perspective is warped by your childhood wounds. The filter of your programming is so significant that you don't see clearly. You're too wrapped up in everyone else's dramas, and you distract yourself from your own thoughts because they're not pleasant. So you don't give yourself time to really reflect on what is and what the truth of the matter is. You were taught to just get on with it. Stop complaining. Don't have an opinion. Just do as you're told. Feeling this really strongly with siblings, older siblings being, for some of you, with older siblings that were really tyrannical because mum and dad weren't on it. But you were taught that you don't matter, that your needs don't matter. And no one reminded you how special you are and how capable and able you are. But you know how to give this love to others. Even though you didn't receive it, you know how to give that love. You just don't know how to give it to yourself or to demand it for yourself. But you do deserve it. You're worthy. You're deserving. And when you break down those filters which you're currently seeing your life through, your perspective will change. It will be balanced and whole and joyful. And you've also got massive codependency. You know, you feel more whole when you are in a relationship. You feel bereft without one, hopeless. You're defined by your partner and how they feel about you. And that's not a safe place to be. You have to be defined by how you feel about self, and you have to be satisfied, whole and happy with self. Because otherwise you're giving the power and control of your happiness to somebody else. That's not safe. You know, you deserve to be happy and whole regardless of how others perceive you or what they want from you or how they feel about you. That's what you need to develop. This is a trigger that you've not even acknowledged, let alone begin to work through. This lack of self-love. And this lack of time. As I said, you give your time and energy to everything and everyone, but you don't give it to yourself. You don't give yourself the time and space to even reflect on what's happening, on what you deserve or how you feel. You just get on with it. You just carry on. There's this energy of... And I feel like you busy yourself with mindless activity to distract yourself. You know, so it's important for me to say that because Arthur's saying she thinks she gives herself time. She'll sit there and while away 3 hours on her phone or, you know, playing some silly game or, you know, but that's escapism. That isn't reflection. That's busying yourself doing something that's distracting. Time for yourself is when you put your phone down, you have nothing in your hands, and you just think about what's happening and what's been said and how you feel about it, and you give yourself the time and space to process that. And this is something you're not doing. You've got to do that. You've got to go within. You've got to get to know yourself. You've got to develop your own inner voice to one that you can trust. You don't trust self at all. That's what you're being triggered to do, to trust self, to go within. For the Divine Masculine, as I said, we've also got a 7 here, but he's got the 7 of Cups, which is about there being so many choices. Very indecisive. And I feel like this guy's probably a bit spoiled in terms of his material world. He's not, he's had options. He's had an easier ride. But he's not seeing the real gifts in his life, which are peace, stability, divine connection, people, love. He's not seeing that. He sees empty cups. He doesn't look at what he has and he has no gratitude. He's not mindful of what, how blessed he is. He's seeing the cup empty. He's always feeling that something is lacking. And he tries to fill it with more material success. He tries to fill that hole, that sense of lack. He's not understanding that's inside. I'm picking up a lot of greed. I feel like he was raised and taught that, material things have greater value, that it's okay to be greedy. He didn't experience generosity or gratitude. I feel like he was detached emotionally. His material needs were met in abundance, but his emotional needs were not, and he doesn't know how to meet his own. And he's very, this card came up for the last pile, he's horribly indecisive. He doesn't trust self. He doesn't trust his own emotions. He doesn't trust his ability to make wise decisions or to discern the truth. I feel like this guy is also very paranoid about believing, or he's very suspicious of people. He doesn't trust that other people will be honest with him. And again, this roots back to childhood and parents who perhaps weren't very honest, that used conflict as a method to manipulate and to drive forward their point. And of course, in conflict, people lie to get what they want, because there's so much pride and fury and anger in conflict. This has left him questioning who he can trust, what he can trust. He certainly doesn't trust himself. We've got the Four of Cups here as well, and in this deck, we see this gentleman pouring it away. He's holding one cup. And he's just pouring, it's like an outpouring of emotion. A lot of self-pity from this guy. And I feel like people perceive him as a bit of a brat, because they'll be like, well, look at everything you've got. You're so ungracious. But actually, it's just his emotional needs that he wants meeting. That's what really makes him struggle. There's no emotional fulfillment, He just lets his emotions run away with him. And he doesn't realise that he has access to emotional fulfillment both within and without. He's just really, there's a lot of self-pity with this guy. He's certainly not been taught how to manage himself emotionally and to give love to himself. We've also got the Eight of Wands reversed, which, I feel like he fears creating change in his own world. I feel like he was, born into success, but trying to achieve it for self is terrifying. He doesn't have faith in his ability to create something valuable, either practically and financially or emotionally. He's scared to make changes. He's scared to move forward. He doesn't realise that he can, you know, he has control of where his arrows land and that the universe is on his side. Yeah, he's a very troubled guy. Right, let's pull a couple of Moonology cards for each of you. What do you need to release, waning moon? And you're very close to achieving your goal, gibbous moon. Personal issue reaches resolution, full moon in Cancer, and work through your fears. New moon is Scorpio. So what do you need to release? You know, you need to release codependency above all else. You need to release distraction. You need to release the childhood programming filters that taught you that you're not enough and that you're not worthy of the love you give to others. And you're very close to achieving your goal. You know, you're ready to step into your own power. You're ready to do this healing. I feel like if you've chosen this path, this video is really going to trigger you in the right way today. It's going to inspire you to take action and move forward. For the Divine Masculine, a personal issue reaches resolution and work through your fears. I mean, there's a lot of watery energy here. I can't help but noticing they came up over these both cards, which both have water. You know, we've got this indecision over emotions with the Two of Swords energy. We've got this water in the background, this body of water. And we've got this cup of water being upturned and poured away. Almost like he just wants to get rid of his emotions and not acknowledge them or work through them, just to release them, to make them someone else's problem. Whatever this guy's been dealing with in terms of a personal issue of an emotional nature, though, he's going to find a resolution. He's going to make a decision to work through those fears. I feel like this guy's probably in a dark night of the soul, actually. And he's going to, he's beginning to see the light. He's beginning to see a way forward. Right. Thank you, pile 3. Please like, share and subscribe. Right. Pile 4. What are your triggers? What aren't you acknowledging about yourself? About the pain you're feeling? What do you need to know to help you move forward? So we're going to do the Divine Feminine across the top. And the Divine Masculine, I'm going to use a different deck. Okay, so Divine Feminine. You fear your own power. You fear your own spirituality. You fear your own strength. You're being triggered regards this journey. You feel a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment. Why is this happening to me? Is this real? Is this so weird? It's a real sense of shame and humiliation and just, oh my God, I hope no one knows this about me. And you're not comfortable with your spirituality. You're not ready to show the world your spiritual face. These two really stand out together for me because the Fool is about the beginning of the journey, stepping into the adventure. And you can see in this card, this lady's just like, oh my God, really? And I feel like this is you. There's a real feeling of, I don't want to do this. Why is this happening to me? And with the Queen of Swords in reverse, you have a very sharp tongue. I believe it was pile 2 that this came up for. Go and watch that pile as well. Because this Queen of Swords energy is about the sharp communication that took place in childhood in your family and you were raised. And it's coming up underneath this 10 of Swords energy for your Divine Masculine as being his trigger. And I feel like your Divine Masculine has suffered greatly from harsh words. So your harsh words, because this is how you've been taught to communicate, are really cutting and hard for him. And you've got this Knight of Wands energy as well, which is kind of this feisty, flighty, intense and passionate, but irresponsible energy. It's about not wanting to take responsibility, not really wanting to grow up, not wanting to step in your own power. There's a fear of being responsible for self, responsible for others. Not being ready to start this journey of dependence on self, not codependency. Fear of judgment. You've got to face who you are. You don't need to be ashamed of who you are. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of you. And you need to learn to bite your tongue because it's fierce. And you're repeating a cycle from childhood where you were reprimanded brutally through the use of words in cutting, hurtful ways. And you've been programmed to behave this way yourself. You're not realizing how painful that is for yourself and others, because it leaves you feeling worthless and mean, and it leaves the other person feeling worthless. And I feel like this has been a strong trigger in your twin relationship, hands down. And your divine counterpart, he's not very good at coping with that. He's already had enough. You both need to deal with that. But Divine Feminine, you need to step into this journey. There is a lot of resistance. I feel like out of all these piles, you actually resist the triggers the most because you resist this journey. You don't want to be a twin flame. You think it's the craziest thing you've ever heard. You don't want to start the healing because you don't want to be a twin flame, and you're not even sure you are a twin flame. You just don't believe this bullshit. Why is this happening to me? This is bullshit. There's so much anger here. So I feel like you're at the very beginning of your journey. You've not started healing. You've not even acknowledged the truth about your connection. And you don't want to be this spiritual woo-woo girl. You don't want to have to go on this journey of healing. You just don't want this shit. I don't want that responsibility. But you're in pain. You're really suffering. You need to make peace with this. For the Divine Masculine, he's just hopeless. He doesn't have hope. He's grown up surrounded by, I want to say, poverty, lack of emotional nurturing. He's just grown up in chaos. He's been taught that people like him don't have happy, fulfilling lives. And he's tired. He's tired of the pain, but he doesn't know how to complete healing. He doesn't know how to... He wants other people to help him. He's got both of you very codependent energies here. And he doesn't want to take responsibility either. He doesn't want to be responsible for self. He's tired. And because he's so hopeless, he doesn't want to embrace a new start. He can't even see the new start because he's so hopeless. When I mean hopeless, I mean he has no hope. He has no faith that things could ever change, that they could ever get better. And he just wishes someone else could make it all okay for him. This is the guy that falls in love easily because he'll meet a woman and think, she's going to save me, she's going to make me happy. He doesn't realise that he has to make himself happy. He doesn't want that responsibility. and he doesn't see a way out. So both of you are in a really dark place. And you've got to, you know, I'm going to say this to the Divine Feminine, you can't make him happy and he can't make you happy. And there's a lot of resentment and anger between you because of this. You've got to make yourselves happy. Amazing, out of all these cards, how many have come up in the same piles? A fiery climax approaches, Divine Feminine, full moon in Aries. Our Queen of Wands energy, fire. A fiery climax, you need to embrace the truth. You need to embrace the truth of who you are and what is happening to you and stop resisting it, because it's a beautiful gift. This is what's going to lead you to joy and happiness. That acceptance brings a new romantic cycle. Don't be afraid anymore. Don't be ashamed. For the Divine Masculine, have faith in your dreams, waxing crescent moon, and your hard work is paying off. You know, for someone so hopeless to have faith, that has to be the ultimate goal, right? To embrace change. We've got butterflies in this card. And to flow with the natural energies of the situation, to allow growth. This waxing moon, it's about growth, change, transformation. To trust that his hard work can pay off. We've got two new moons here. You know, these are new beginnings. He doesn't want to do that work. He doesn't want to take responsibility. Neither do you. You don't want to step into the journey, the new journey. The Fool, you've got a 0. The new moon here. But you both need to. That's what's going to help you move forward. It's what's going to bring you peace. Right, thank you so much. Guys, please like, share and subscribe. It was a joy to connect with you. Please do let me know down below what you think. Please comment. If you want to get a private reading from me, you can find that information down below too. Have a great day.